Welcome everyone. In our last video, we tried to create a theme and we tried to create a toggle button, and we tried to create that without the help of any state management library or use context or use reducer hook. And by doing so, we found ourselves that we can create this theme based application with the help of use state hook, and we can also pass the theme and toggle the function as props down to every component that needs it. Here is an example. Just to remind you, we tried to pass the props through header component, and eventually down the line, if required, we might have to pass the same prop to menu, to footer, and all the other n number of components where these themes need to be implemented. So imagine a component deep down the tree needing theme info, and you would have to drill props through every intermediate components even if they don't need it. That's called prop drilling, and it makes your code harder to maintain. Now imagine this in a big dashboard app. It's total chaos. So how to fix this thing? We can fix this with the help of useReducer and useContext hook. So now here's how we fix that. And to fix this, we would first need to create a context or use context hook or create context hook. For this, you will create a small component here called theme component or theme context. We'll create a small component theme context, and it will import React create context initially, and we'll create an initial state. And inside this initial state, we'll create an object with theme, and we will initialize it with light. Now from here we have to create the context and pass it on to the provider. As we know, when we create a context, first we are creating an instance of the context called theme context, and the theme context will have a provider where we will pass on the values of the theme and a method which we call as dispatch. So let's try this. We'll first create function. Let's name that function as theme reducer, and then let's assume that function takes states and an action, and we will have a switch case. Switch, it will take an action dot type, and it will have first case as say toggle button. And what it will do, it will return a state where the theme, pardon me, theme will be based on whatever action it will get. So if the theme is state.theme equal to light, it will change to dark, or else it will remain light. The same condition that we used before. And here we will also have a default case which will just return the state. So that's it for our reducer function. Yeah. Also need to create the create context. You can create it. Say we'll give a name as theme context, which will import the which will use the create context. Now we will also be using the useReducer hook. And since this theme context will be used up with the provider, we can have or we can export a function called theme provider, and this theme provider will actually be wrapping up children, and inside this theme provider we will use up this useReducer hook and will pass on this initial state, and also will pass the theme reducer, and this is going to return an array which will have state and dispatch method. What this is going to do, this is going to return a method which will have theme context dot provider, and the value it will pass the theme, it will pass the state and dispatch, and it will wrap around the children. Here we have to pass this as an object. Since we are passing this as a value, so we are going to pass this as an object. Both the values, one the function and the state, will be passed as an object. So that is for the provider. Now we want to create small custom hook so that we can use it up another component. For that we can create an export function use theme, and what it will do is that it will return use context. So what is the use context? Use context hook is a hook with which we are utilizing the create context. So it accepts the context object and it returns the current context values like the state and dispatch. So what we're doing, instead of returning the values, we are returning the entire use context inside use theme. So it's just a naming convention so that we can use this elsewhere. Here we will pass the theme context. And as we have wrote the use theme, as we have wrote the use context, it automatically been imported in the React import statement. So what we did, we created a context, then we created an initial state, then we created a custom provider component, and we created a reducer method, and we created a reducer method. We destructured the useReducer hook and passed on the reducer method and the initial state. We destructured and got the values of state and dispatch, and we passed that to the theme provider, which will be wrapping around the children element or the child elements. And we have also created a small use theme custom hook, which we can use with the use context hook, so that we don't have to call the use context hook elsewhere. So that is pretty much it. Now we are going to use this in our app.js. How are we going to use that? We will go to the app.js. We are going to import, or rather we can directly wrap this entire content inside theme provider. It gets automatically imported, and we're going to place this at the bottom. So whichever element, whichever component it passed inside the theme provider will hold the theme value within itself, right? And inside that, what do we have? We have a div, and inside the div we have a header. Let's comment them out, and inside the header we don't have to pass this props anymore. It will take automatically. Now we just have to check the header. So we have the theme, so we can remove them because we won't be needing them. And here, instead of calling them from the props, we are going to call the use theme custom hook, which is going to return an object which will have the state. We can name the state as theme, and we are going to call the dispatch method. And instead of having set theme, we can use the dispatch method over here. And let's just cut this for now and pass on that object which will show toggle button. And here, instead of theme, we can paste this. So if the theme is light, it will show dark, or it will show light. Since we're getting the theme from use theme custom hook, we can based on its value, we can render light or dark. So this is for the header component. So let's check the theme context once more. Spelling, my bad. It's dispatch. Also this will be dispatch. And here one more thing, we need to destructure state.theme, and we're getting the theme over here. Or better, we can have an object. Instead of passing this as an object, we can have a key value like this theme, which will have the state.theme, and we can pass this dispatch method. And then we can also check here, the same dispatch will come, it will pass the toggle button, and the same toggle button sent over here. And I think that is it. Let's head back to our theme toggle app and see if it's working as expected. Yep, it is working. Hence, by using the useReducer and useContext hook, We avoided prop drilling, centralized our logic, and made the code easier to scale and maintain. We can see that we have easily created a context, theme context here. We created a reducer method. We passed the reducer and initial state to the useReducer method. We created a create context and we passed the same with the context provider, and we have passed the same to its children. We also created a custom hook to use it in the child elements, and here we have used it very easily with the custom hook. So it makes this much more cleaner and efficient way. And this is one of the way uh, to manage the shared state in React without bringing in the Redux. And we have avoided prop drilling, and we have centralized the entire logic. So that is it for now. If you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more React tips like this. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see how we can scale this pattern even further, maybe with custom hooks or middleware style logic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.